Hello, and welcome to Dining with Death, True Crime Tuesday. Before our story begins, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you want to support me, and if you really want to support the community, you can join my Patreon. I'll talk about that at the end of the video. We have a really big goal. Today I have for you a more recent story, a story that has had some new developments, and one that I'm hoping will have some sort of resolution very soon. This is the story of a Colorado woman who literally vanished off her mountain bike during a ride on Mother's Day 2020. It's a scary story because it's one of those that reminds us any day, any mundane activity can be your last. And it's a scary story because it's one that reminds us when one of those last days happens, you might just be the one that gets blamed, whether you're responsible or not. This is a modern day suburban nightmare that is so very much like stories from the past. The more I study true crime stories, the more I realize the years and the decades may go by, but some things never change. When people work very hard to achieve a comfortable and beautiful life, they often get bored, forgetting how hard they've worked to achieve all that they have. And when people who don't have money problems, survival problems, serious problems get bored, they often engage in behavior that's hurtful at least and life-changing at most. Sometimes it starts out as an overly friendly relationship at the gym or at work. Sometimes it starts out as an affair, and oftentimes it ends with someone dead. The comfortable life and happy families are obliterated simply because people get bored. But this story has a major twist. This is still a whodunit, and this is still a tragedy, regardless of the circumstances. This is the story of a missing wife and mother, someone who is loved and who is missed, and who is most likely no longer with us. Where is Suzanne Morphew? I'm your host, Stacy Lee. Let's get into it. May 10th, 2020.
Are you?
Okay, so I'm the daughter's boyfriend.
Okay.
And I'm here to...
Is this your truck?
That's my truck.
See my did shit because never mind, I got something here. So you haven't seen the mom at all, have you?
Yep, so the two daughters are gone right now at the moment. The dad is in Denver for a job, and they texted her because of Mother's Day, and they haven't heard. The text never went through, like it never delivered since this morning. And she's a big mountain biker. She normally takes her car.
Yeah.
And her bike's normally in the back of that. It's gone.
Was this open when you came here?
The neighbor was here that opened it, and then she shut it, and she went back to her house. Her house is right over there.
Okay.
And then I came back and I opened it to come in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you looked in the house for
I
her?
have, yep.
Alright. You looked through everything?
Yes.
You haven't found her?
No.
Okay. Alright. What time did you get here?
6 o'clock, and then I went all the way up Fusis, because she's road up there. And I just drove the main road, couldn't find her, and then there's a couple spots that I could check, like trails and stuff. But I wanted to come back here to just, like, check back in and stuff.
Okay. Has she ever gone up 225?
Colorado Trail right there?
Like, you know the big hill once you come
Yeah.
off the highway?
Well, she hasn't, and I haven't checked there yet because that climb at the beginning is really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be out of characteristic for her to do that. But I mean, someone needs to go there, I think.
Why would you say it is, like, on carry?
Well, because it's kind of a crazy...
Okay.
It's kind of a crazy climb to get up there.
All
It's
right.
like not really rideable. You got to push your bike before you can start riding.
Alright.
Yeah.
Do you have a driver's license on you?
Yeah. It's in my truck.
As you just saw in that clip, Suzanne Morphew's daughter's boyfriend is talking with the police. It is Mother's Day 2020, and this young man's girlfriend and her sister are both out of town, but they have each texted their mother to tell her Happy Mother's Day. This is Mallory Morphew, and this is Macy Morphew. Neither daughter got any type of reply from their mother, and the girls knew that their mother would never ignore their texts, especially on Mother's Day. The girls' father and Suzanne's husband, Barry, is out of town. He's in nearby Denver working on a landscaping job. This is the $1.7 million Morphew home. The couple also owned a home in Indiana. They had a very comfortable lifestyle, Barry doing very well with his own landscaping business, and he also worked part-time as a volunteer firefighter. Suzanne had been a school teacher earlier in her life, but left her career to raise the couple's 2 daughters. The family lived in Indiana, but when Mallory went to college in Colorado, the entire family picked up and moved to this giant property just outside of Salina, Colorado, in order to be closer to Mallory. That's what they told most people, but those close to the family knew it was also so that Barry and Suzanne could get a fresh start in their marriage, which had been troubled, to say the least. Early in the morning on Mother's Day, Barry left the Colorado home to drive to Bloomfield, Colorado, about 150 miles away from their home, where he was needed to work and check on a job site. Mallory and Macy were away on a camping trip that weekend, and they were coming home to be with their mom on Mother's Day. As they drove home, they texted their mom, Suzanne, wishing her happy Mother's Day and telling her that they would be home soon. They got no reply. Mallory then called her father and told him that neither of the girls had been able to reach Suzanne. So Barry calls one of the neighbors and asks them to go to their home and check on Suzanne to see if her mountain bike is at the house. The neighbor goes to the Morphew home and sees that Suzanne's mountain bike is gone, and so is she. Suzanne had recently become an avid mountain biker who rode her bike pretty much every day. This was nothing unusual, but it was very unusual for her not to return text messages. By the time the police are called, it's almost 6 o'clock in the evening, long past the time Suzanne would return from any mountain bike ride. Barry asks his neighbor to call the police. He then goes to his hotel room where he had booked rooms for he and his coworkers. He drops off some shovels and some tools that they will need for the job, and he begins to drive home. As Barry and the girls are driving towards the house, one of the girls calls her boyfriend and tells him what is happening. He is the young man you saw in the video. As you saw, he tells the police he has been through the entire house. Suzanne is not there. He has also driven around by the trails that Suzanne would normally ride her bike on, and she isn't on any of them. But he tells the police he did not check the Colorado Trail, a nearby trail that he tells police Suzanne would never ride on. Why? Because the very beginning of the trail apparently is very, very steep, and it's out of Suzanne's skill level. Perhaps she doesn't like riding on steep trails. But the boyfriend tells the police, "I think someone should go there." The police find this a bit puzzling because they've just been told Suzanne would never ride on this trail. So why is the boyfriend sending them there? At any rate, the police arrive at the trailhead and begin walking up and down, shouting for Suzanne, hoping to find her injured and waiting for help. But that is not what they find.
Suzanne?
Maybe see if you can get that up to the road and then check the serial number or call the husband and see what kind of bike she has.
Somebody chip you, buddy.
Chip you, love.
Can you try to call the husband and see what type of bike she has? Right now I'm staring at a Santa Cruz, blue in color.
We'll do 9:35.
One of us will stay here. One's gonna be like on the bottom of that. That's where I usually
Yeah,
find them.
because the rim's not going to... I'm just looking at the rim. It's not bent.
What is this? Warm crawling, Jeff. It's a big warning.
I guess maybe be careful where you're talking to. Just stay on there. Try not to touch it too much in case like someone
Yeah. Something's up with this front tire. Said something's up with this front tire.
As you saw in that clip, the police found Suzanne's bike up on an embankment. They found nothing else with the bike. There was no clothing, no blood, no evidence of a struggle, nothing. They take the bike back to the side of Highway 50 and continue searching. About a mile away from where the bike is found, they find Suzanne's helmet. That's 2 days after she goes missing. But here's the thing. Back at the house where Suzanne's car is parked in the garage, they find what they should not find. Inside Suzanne's car, they find her sunglasses and her hydration backpack, something she would never go riding without. I'm assuming it's one of those like camel backpacks that goes on your back and has the water in it, and then there's a straw that comes to your mouth so you can drink water while you're riding. Why would Suzanne have gone off on a ride on a difficult trail she had never ridden on before without her sunglasses and without her hydration pack? This makes no sense, and police are beginning to believe that Suzanne Morphew never got on her bike at all that day. As the police continue to work the crime scene, Barry Morphew gets back into town, and he drives directly to where he had been told the police are working, and this is what happened then.
Where is it? Where's the bike?
Oh, it's right there.
Where was it?
It was like just right down here in this little embankment right here. So I check this too. We got the husband on scene here with me.
I'm here with my daughter. She's at Barry's house.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, you can go down there.
Was it a crash?
I mean, the bike looked, the way it was laid, it kind of looked like it, but there's not really that much damage to the bike. That's the thing.
Lion?
Yeah, it was just like
Was
lying.
there no lion? Mountain
I didn't see anything that would
I didn't see
indicate.
anything, and they're not letting us go over the side.
Because we're getting a
The
track
dogs, we're bringing dogs
Where'd you find
in.
her bike? Right
just
here?
right down in here,
Do you know
yeah.
where my husband and son are?
They
They're
Yeah.
probably went down to Puma,
Yeah,
down to the
so-
house. We're in my house.
okay.
And Bear, just, I know this is tough right now. Do you mind if I just get a driver's license for our report stuff? Search and rescue's on their way. Hey, Barry, and then I'll probably need your help to kind of tell me some of the trails that she frequents so we can backtrack some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
Oh, man. And she's an avid mountain biker, right?
It's just started. She's been
And just a confirmation, you left this morning at 5.
She was sound asleep.
Okay. And she told you she was going to go bike riding?
She bikes every day, yeah.
Okay.
She said she's going to bike when she gets up.
So she was asleep in the bed when you left. Did you say bye to her or anything?
No, she's sound asleep.
Okay.
Always leave her.
So the last time you probably actually saw her was this morning. That was it, right?
Yeah, I've been in Boonesville. I got a big job up there. I've been there all day working.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, you need to calm down.
No, it's all good, man. We're doing the best. We got
Did
a
they
lot of
check
people
the house?
coming.
Did they,
Yeah.
They,
we got-
As Barry is working with officers at the location where the bike was found, additional officers are speaking with the boyfriend, and his father has also arrived at the scene. I won't play you too much of that interaction, but I do want to show you just a snippet. The officer asks the boy to tell him about the Morphew marriage. Their faces are blurred, but I found an unblurred vision, and in that, when the officers ask the boy about the Morphew marriage, he turns and looks at his father, and his father says, "Be honest."
Did you just let him know about it? Do you live in the area?
No, he dates her.
Right.
Yeah,
so he called you and let you
Well,
know.
we were talking to their daughters on a road trip. We were talking to them down in town.
Okay.
And then I said, yeah, why don't you run up there and see if you can't find her. And so then once he'd been gone a while, I drove up here.
I know this is a weird question, but Do Barry and Suzanne get along pretty well?
You can answer honestly.
You know, I think they've had some problems.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past.
Like, just normal.
Normal husband and wife type deal.
Oh, they like talk about separating or anything
they
like
have,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
And you know this through
Macy.
Yeah, I'm
Macy.
very close with her.
Yeah, it's
daughter.
important that you, at this
I know,
point, you tell
I
them
know.
anything that
Yeah.
you know, like that.
Yeah, and he is in Denver for a work job. He's a landscaper, and he's got a big job in Denver. So that's where he's at.
After the police have removed the bike from the trail where it was found, and they have cordoned off the area, they bring in search and rescue officials to continue looking for Suzanne throughout the night. As this is taking place, Barry leads officers back to his house so they can do a walkthrough together.
Not touch anything just for in case.
Okay. Is this unlocked?
Yes.
Which way would that be? This way?
Let me touch anything down there.
These are all heard right here.
Yeah.
Have you got a plastic bag?
Yeah.
Or a paper bag?
I'd say the sports bra is probably good. I mean, it's direct contact with the skin. No, we should just be fine with one. How do you turn on the exterior lights? Which light switch is it? All of them do?
Yes, you want secure.
Thank you. Hey, Anthony. Can I speak to you over there once we get back?
Right there.
So you realize what you grabbed, right? Those shorts? Yeah, those are for mountain biking.
As you saw in the clip, they are looking for Suzanne in the house or any trace of something that might have happened. Barry even gives the police some Ziploc baggies to collect evidence. Don't police have evidence bags? At any rate, at the end, you hear one of the officers ask the other, "Can I speak to you over here for a minute?" As soon as the officers get together and walk away from Barry, the footage cuts out. I looked for a longer version and I couldn't find one. Now, that's not to say it isn't out there, but the versions I found kept the officer conversation private. I couldn't find one that showed what the officers were talking about. In the days following Suzanne's disappearance, the police, as you would expect, begin tearing the Morphews' lives apart, and what they find is troubling. Also going on is a massive search for Suzanne, and apparently the area residents were really great about jumping in and volunteering, helping to look for her. You can see here a scuba team was brought in to search a nearby lake. They thought perhaps Suzanne was attacked by a mountain lion that might have drug her into the lake. Perhaps she wanted to hurt herself. They really had nothing to go on at this point, but I will say mountain lions are very much an issue in Colorado. Colorado, even here in Utah, we don't go anywhere on the side-by-side or the four-wheeler without a sidearm. We not only have cats, but the occasional bear, and it can be dangerous. Very quickly, it becomes apparent that there was trouble in the Morphew marriage. Both daughters spoke openly with people close to them about the fact that their parents had discussed getting a divorce, at least separating for a while, if nothing else. There was a lot of tension and a lot of arguing, and it was a very poorly kept secret that both Barry and Suzanne were having sex with other people. 10 days after Suzanne disappeared, investigators going through the home found this spy pen inside the primary bedroom walk-in closet. They tracked the Morphews' banking records and discovered that Suzanne had purchased the spy pen and placed it in the walk-in closet in an attempt to get a recording of Barry speaking with his girlfriend, his mistress, when he knew Suzanne wasn't around. This spy pen is voice activated, and it turns on as soon as someone begins speaking. Instead of Suzanne catching Barry, the pen recorded her speaking to her lover. Now, Suzanne was gone. It wasn't like the police could just ask her who this man was that they heard her talking with on the spy pen recording. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. I think it's really shitty that this guy didn't come forward when he found out Suzanne was missing. I don't care what your life situation is. When someone goes missing and you have information, you come forward, period. If you don't, not only do you look guilty as sin, but you're really telling the rest of the world you're a garbage person. That's how I feel about it. It takes the police 6 months to identify this man that Suzanne had been having an affair with. The police have gone out of their way to protect his identity. I know who the guy is, and I'm going to share his name because the press has revealed it. There's all kinds of articles, and now he has to go to court. His name is Jeff Libler, Libler. He is a married Michigan man who has 6 children. He and Suzanne were classmates who reconnected on social media, as cliche as you can get. Not only did Jeff Libler not come forward, he took steps, active steps, to hide his affair with Suzanne after she vanished. I think that is such a crappy thing to do. I'm not gonna lie, I get a little joy out of imagining the moment the cops knocked on this guy's door after 6 months of him thinking he'd gotten away scot-free and letting him know, hey bud, what's up? We know. Apparently the man then cooperated fully with the police and gave them not only his phone records and passwords to his social media accounts, but his DNA. He willingly gave up his DNA. The police are adamant that they have verified this man, Jeff's alibi, and checked him out, and he is not a suspect. His name became public later on. We'll get to that in a moment. On the day before Suzanne disappeared, records show that Suzanne and Jeff messaged each other 59 times leading up to the very moments she disappeared. This is the final text message Suzanne Morphew ever sent. This selfie has become known in the case as the proof of life selfie. It shows the last moment that we know for sure Suzanne was alive. Barry had also texted Suzanne on the day before she disappeared. He texted at around 2:30 in the afternoon telling Suzanne he was on his way home. He got no reply. He texted again and said, "Did you leave?" He doesn't get an answer, and this conversation becomes the basis for the police theory. Police begin to build a case against Barry Morphew. They surmise that Barry sent a text to Suzanne on May 9th, the day before she vanished, and then he went home, killed Suzanne, cleaned up the mess, hid her body, threw her bike down the trailhead, her helmet a mile away from that, and then drove to his job site 150 miles away, where he then pretended to be shocked that his wife had disappeared. What evidence did they have against Barry? Well, for one, he had deleted a bunch of very nasty text messages. Just days before Suzanne disappeared, she sent a text to Barry that said, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." So yeah, that's a woman who's done. A woman who's done is a very scary woman. And I can tell by those words, she's done. She's got no emotion left. She doesn't care if he's cheating. She wants out. Always remember, my friends, the opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. When you don't care enough to hate someone, you are really done. Then the police found what they considered to be signs of a struggle. This photo shows a large crack in a door jamb going into the bedroom. The police thought this might be a sign that someone had tried to barricade themselves in the bedroom while someone else was trying to get in. The police even asked the former owners of the house if it was there when they owned the house, and they said no. Barry claims he has no idea how the crack in the door jamb got there. Then the police got a hold of Barry's cell phone records. As you can see here, Barry's phone is pinging all around the house all day on May 9th. This is just one photo, but apparently the cell phone basically runs back and forth all over the house all throughout the day on May 9th. Police asked Barry about this. What he tells them is kind of unusual, kind of strange. Barry tells the officers that on May 9th, he spent the day running all over his property shooting chipmunks. He said he hates the chipmunks. They're a constant nuisance, and once in a while he just spends a day running all over the property shooting them. Investigators do not believe Barry. They believe this unusual cell phone activity is due to Barry chasing Suzanne around the house after shooting her with a tranquilizer gun. Why do they think a tranquilizer gun was used? Because they found this plastic cap in the Morphew family dryer. It's the cap off of a tranquilizer dart. Barry did admit to police that he had a tranquilizer gun that he used to illegally sedate deer and remove and sell their antlers. Barry, bro, side note here. You're killing chipmunks. You're illegally sedating deer. Like, go get an apartment in New York. You obviously hate living in the hills. So what are you doing there? This is irritating to me. It's irritating to me. I'm sorry. It's irritating. Then there is an issue with Barry's truck. Barry tells the police that on May 9th, the night before Suzanne disappears, he went to bed around 8 o'clock. But the computer in Barry's truck shows that someone started the truck up around 9:30 that night, put it in reverse, and backed it up towards the house. You know, like you would do if you were going to load something heavy into the back of it. Police go to Suzanne's friends and ask for their conversations with Suzanne. And these conversations are upsetting. In these conversations, Suzanne says things like, "I feel no peace when he's here, and I would not feel safe alone with him." It had gotten really bad. In March of 2020, Suzanne told a friend, "He won't speak of divorce, but I'm done." Now, as if all this wasn't enough, investigators discovered that Barry Morphew was walking around Broomfield, Colorado, where his job site was at, throwing things into different trash dumpsters. Barry tried to explain this away by saying it was something he did often because he didn't want to pay to have his own dumpsters dumped on his own job sites. That costs money. So he'd often throw things away into other people's trash dumpsters so they would have to pay to dump them. Ay, Barry, dude. Cheating on the wife, we're stealing dumpster services, we're killing chipmunks, we're sedating deer and sawing their antlers off. You know, we all need a wake-up call in life. I've definitely had a couple, and whatever ends up happening here, I hope Barry changes his ways to some degree. So you think I'm done? I'm not. Barry also had scratch marks on his body. This photo was taken 3 days after Suzanne went missing. As you can see, it looks as if fingernails, have left 3 distinct claw marks on Barry's arm. So prosecutors believe this is another sign of a physical altercation. So you think you know where this is all heading, right? I can promise you, none of us had any clue. May 5th, 2021. Nearly 1 year to the day that Suzanne Morphew went missing, her husband Barry was arrested. He was charged with tampering with physical evidence and attempting to influence a public servant. He pled not guilty to all charges. A date was set for trial, but then everyone was shocked when 10 days before the trial was set to begin, in April of 2022, the judge threw out the entire case against Barry. District Attorney Linda Stanley filed a motion to dismiss the charges without prejudice, and the judge agreed. Why? The tranquilizer cap found in the dryer It had Suzanne's DNA on it, not Barry's. There was also unknown male DNA on the glove box of Suzanne's Range Rover. That unknown male DNA is connected to 3 sexual assaults in the same area. Could this unknown male have taken Suzanne? It appears that that is definitely a possibility. They know the DNA in the Range Rover does not belong to Barry, and it does not belong to Jeff Leibler, but it does belong to someone who has left DNA at 3 sexual assault crime scenes. So that is huge. Then the judge in the case barred the prosecution from calling over a dozen expert witnesses, including searchers and an expert on tranquilizer guns, because they violated the rules of discovery during the pretrial phase. Now, someone should get fired for that, honestly. That's really, really bad. So the prosecution was left without several integral witnesses that it was really relying on in order to make its case against Barry Morphew. The more you look into this case, the more you realize nothing is really as it seems. Yes, there is shady stuff going on in the Morphew house. There is shady stuff going on in the prosecutor's office. It's just kind of a mess, to put it frankly. Barry Morphew at this point is not taking this lying down. He is angry. He is indignant. He has always claimed that he is innocent, and he states he has given reasons for everything that the prosecution ever asked him about. Now, like I said, the case against Barry has been dismissed without prejudice. So that means that the prosecution can refile charges against Barry Morphew if they choose to. He's not off yet. But if they do file charges, they're going to have to do so without their cell phone expert, their canine handlers that worked the scene, the tranquilizer gun expert, all because they missed deadlines and failed to turn over important information in the pretrial phase. Like I said, someone should be getting fired. TV makes us believe that there are these big aha moments in the courtrooms. That doesn't happen. It rarely happens because there is a process before every trial that's called discovery, where both sides are forced to turn over everything they intend to use at trial. The prosecution broke all kinds of rules on the discovery process. So where are we at right now? First off, Barry Morphew has filed a $15 million lawsuit against the state of Colorado. That suit was filed a few months ago in May of 2023. He is alleging that his civil rights have been violated and that the prosecution against him was malicious in nature. He states that his name and reputation have been irreparably tarnished in Colorado and around the country, and that he has suffered great economic loss because of the charges brought against him and then were dismissed. Now, he ain't wrong. Is he guilty? That hasn't been decided, but he's definitely been wronged by a prosecution that did not have its shit together. That case won't go to trial for some time, but we already know this episode is going to be a part 1. I'll bring you more up to date when we know more. But Barry's filing of a civil complaint is not the big update in this case that I spoke about at the beginning of the episode. Just weeks ago, investigators released information to the press stating that they believe they know where Suzanne Morphew's body is. So why haven't they gone to that spot and retrieved the body? The words that they used when making this announcement are, "The body is in a very difficult spot." Now, I don't know what that means. They haven't said. Does it mean she's at the bottom of a body of water or high on a mountain cliff? We don't know. 11th District Judicial Deputy District Attorney Mark Holbert told the press, "She's in a very difficult spot. We actually have more than just a feeling, and the sheriff's office is continuing to look for Mrs. Morphew's body." So that's very, very vague and a little bit puzzling. Barry Morphew, who is now 55 years old, remains a suspect, according to the police. But I want to be very clear, maintains his innocence, and he has had all charges against him. I don't know if they've technically been dropped, but they've definitely been postponed, and the trial proceeding has been stopped. In the same press conference where officials announced they thought they know where Suzanne's body is, they stated that their probe could take months or even years to determine whether or not Suzanne was murdered and how she died. That makes it even more puzzling. Along with this announcement came the announcement that records were being unsealed. What is in those records? Intimate conversations that Suzanne Morphew sent to her best friend, Sheila Oliver. You saw a few of those earlier on. And those conversations detail that Suzanne is planning to leave Barry, her husband of 25 years. Barry has stated that he suffered from lymphoma. I guess he had cancer in the past, and says that he made bad decisions based on medications he was taking for chemotherapy. I'm sorry to hear that Barry has had health problems. I am. That sucks. I know, believe me. But I don't love using cancer and cancer drugs as an excuse for bad behavior. Sorry, I just don't. Think we're done? Not quite. The end of May of 2023, a couple comes forward. This woman came forward. Her name is stacyleeDWD, and she is a friend of Suzanne's. Tisha claims it was her who spearheaded the volunteer movement and organized search parties to search the wilderness around Suzanne's house. Tisha claims she has been working tirelessly for 3 years to find Suzanne, and in all the work she has done, she has never heard a word from Barry or from Suzanne's daughters. Tisha even hosts an annual event called Forget Me Not in downtown Poncho Springs each Christmas, where she puts up a tree with memorial ornaments for Suzanne. She claims she has invited Barry, Mallory, and Macy to each event, and they have never even responded. Now, look, I'm a very private person when I'm struggling. I'm not a social person. So this doesn't say a whole lot to me. If I were in the Morphew shoes, I don't know that I'm going to any social event or gathering. I'm just being honest. It might be too difficult for them to bear. But I will say I think it's strange not to respond. Just send a text that says, thank you for everything you're doing. We can't be there. You know what I mean? Tisha also claims that Mallory once came into her tanning salon, and when Tisha told Mallory that she was the one doing all the work to find her mom, Mallory just said, okay, can I use one of the tanning beds? Now, again, we have no idea what these girls have been through. We can't even imagine, so I'm not putting a lot of stock in any of this, but it is part of the story. I have to tell it. These girls are grieving. They've dealt with not only the loss of their mother, but their dad being blamed and put on trial, then being released with the charges dropped. It's been hell for them. And of everyone in the story, I feel mainly for the girls. Now, I wish I had some answers for you. I wish I had answers for Mallory and Macy, and I wish we knew. I will do a part 2 to this story when and if there is ever a conclusion. But for now, we are just left wondering, where is Suzanne Morphew and what happened to her? Thank you for joining me today on Dining with Death, True Crime Tuesday. Hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. If you really want to support our community, you can join Patreon. If you only want to give a few dollars a month, that's fine with me. But here's the end goal. When you join Patreon, you keep the channel alive. It's basically what's keeping us alive at this point. But the end goal is to raise money to donate to police departments who have cold case DNA in storage that can't be tested because there's no money. We want to raise money to get sexual assault kits tested so we can close that case and get the perpetrator's DNA in the system in case they have committed other crimes. It's a big goal, it's a lofty goal, but I'm not giving up on it. I sure appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching, and I really appreciate your support. Stay safe, my friends, and be kind to each other. And I'll see you next time on Dining with Death. Bye.